All right, here I go with these problems. These are kind of fun. Check out how you do these problems first. 1 second. All right, we are going to work these examples. Now, PEMDAS still applies here. That's parentheses exponents. We're going to first start by looking at these by simplifying our exponents as much as we possibly can. We're going to simplify it as much as we possibly can. So this is how this works. X to the third over x to the fourth. The first step that ends up taking place is 3 minus 4. 3 minus 4 is actually negative 1. So we end up with x to the negative 1 inside our thing right here. And there's nothing on the bottom because it moves up to the top. So we end up with x to the negative 1, but we still have to square it. Now what ends up happening, you end up doing negative 1 times negative 1, because that's what's going on. Or sorry, not negative 1 times negative 1. You're doing negative 1 times 2, my bad. And you end up with negative 1 times 2 is x to the negative 2. That's what you end up with over here. But here's the deal. We don't like negative exponents inside our answer. And so it looks like this. You're going to switch it. You just basically move this thing, x to the negative 2, to the bottom. And it won't leave a 0 up there. It'll leave a 1. And that's going to be what the answer looks like. All right, let's go to the next example. Let's simplify this. This 2 over 5 can't be simplified without decimals. We don't want that. But this x to the 6th over x to the 5th, we're going to simplify the parentheses first. So we're going to end up with 2/5. And then 6 minus 5 is 1. So we're going to end up with x to the 1 up here. And then what's left over is the squared here. So what did I do? I can't simplify that 2 over 5, but that 6 minus 5 is a positive 1. So that x goes up here. Now let's square everything. Check it out. 2 squared is going to be 4. And remember, the rules of numbers are a little different. X to the 1 raised to the power of 2. We're going to multiply that 1 times 2, which gives us x squared. And then on the very bottom, 5 squared is 25. And that's how we multiplied that. All right, let's check out this one. X to the 9th over x to the 2. I'm going to go ahead and do my first step, which is subtract the terms. I end up with a positive 7. 9 minus 2 is a positive 7. Raised to the power of 3. I'm now going to multiply 7 times 3, and I'm going to end up with x to the 21. This one's kind of fun. X to the third over y to the third. These are not the same bases, y'all. You can't combine them. You can't just be like, oh, x and y go together. They don't. So you just have to basically square it. There's nothing else to do. So you just square. Which is, in this case, 3 times 2. 3 times 2. So what does that look like? It ends up looking like x to the 6th over y to the 6th. You don't have to do any more than that. That's the answer to that one. I'm going to go ahead and fill out these real quickly because these are kind of fun. Here we go. I'm going to do this relatively fast without much talking. 2 minus 9 is negative 7. So I'm going to do x to the negative 7. But we don't like that. The rule for that is put that to the other side of the fraction. So if it's in the numerator, throw it in the denominator, and vice versa. So that's what that ends up going to. 5 minus 13 is x to the negative 8. We don't like that, so we're going to move it down here. X to the 8th. And notice the sign switches. All right, let's see what we got here on the first go-around. We have 8 minus 10 is negative 2. 8 minus 10 is negative 2. 4 minus 7 is negative 3. And I don't want those in there, so they're both going to go to the bottom, and that's going to leave a 1 on the top, and I'll have an x squared y to the third. 33 minus 27 is 6, so you just end up with x to the 6th. Now let's see what we got here. 1 minus 3 is x to the negative 2. And then if there's no exponent here, y'all, it's a hidden 1. So 6 minus 1 is 5, so I have y to the 5. Now the y can stay, but the negative 2 needs to be moved down, and the entire x goes with it. And it looks like this. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and do this last problem with y'all. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. I told you I wouldn't talk very much. That's called a lie. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. And then 4 minus 10 is negative 6. And so we don't like those things on the top. So remember, there's technically a fraction there. So we're going to move this x to the negative 3 to the bottom and the y. And what leaves us on top is a 1, and that is going to be like this. And I'm going to solve one little problem for you, an extra one I'm going to write in. Let's say I had 2x to the negative 3, right? Let's say I had that for the problem, and I said, you got to get rid of that exponent. Well, check it out. If this is what it looked like, what would end up happening is the 2 stays in its place, only the x would move down. So you'd end up with something like this. I want to make sure that that's clear. Anywho, I believe that's the last bit. It is. Good luck today. Oh, you have a Delta Math assignment.